Hello YouTube, Eric DIY and Zach with you on a special video for us. We're gonna build a custom desktop PC. I have not done this since 2002. A lot has changed since then, and I guess the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna show you the build. For the case, we've decided to go with the Cooler Master Trooper SE. The thing is huge, has auto fan controls, and should do well with the rest of our build. For the processor, we've decided to go with what I think is the best. Even though it's going to be for gaming and video creation, we've decided to go with the Core i9 9900K. And I know that a lot of gamers say, oh, use the 8700, it's cheaper, but I haven't built one of these in 17 years, so I decided to go for the i9. Seeing that all new processors seem to need cooling, we've gone with the Corsair H115i Pro, which has RGB lighting. I'm not a fan, I'm old school. I could care less about RGB lighting, but it comes with it, so what the heck, we'll see what happens. For memory, we've decided to go with a 2x8 gigabyte kit, DDR4 RAM, 4400 megahertz RAM by Viper Gaming. Now, some reviews are mixed on this. Some think that you have no problem getting to 4400 megahertz. That's overclocking it to that much. And other reviews said they've only been able to get it to about 4,000. So we're gonna have to see, but either way, it's a new build, and if I get to 4,200, I'm fine with that. However, the motherboard is supposed to allow us to go to 4,400 according to the company, so I might even contact them if we have problems. As far as the motherboard, I went with the Asus Republic of Gamers Maximus 11 Hero with Wi-Fi. I always had good luck with Asus motherboards in the past. I've also used 8-bit back in the past, but we're talking again the late 90s to 2002-ish. This one seems to be a good Z390 board, and it definitely supports everything I'm going to put in this thing. So I bought it used. I tried to buy stuff used if it looked really good. I got this for around $200 used, which I didn't think that was that bad. It came with sealed parts and everything. So, I mean, for what it was, I think $200 was worth it. Again, trying to save money wherever I can. Finally, the pièce de résistance, the most I've ever spent on a component for a custom computer ever. We're gonna go with the Asus 8GB GDDR6 RAM GeForce RTX 2080. I know it's not the Ti, but that's one heck of an expensive video card. I bought that as an open box item. It looks brand new, came all sealed up brand new. And I got about $100 off what they're going for right now. So it better work. Now that's what we bought to build this. And you're probably wondering, well, geez, where's the hard drives and stuff? I'm actually gonna cannibalize my MSI GT72. I'm gonna take out the two M.2 hard drives I already have in there. I have a 1 terabyte regular HGST drive, and we're just gonna use those for now. I want to keep costs down. I'll probably upgrade all those to SSD with the PCIe interface and everything like that to make it faster. But I just wanted to get a faster computer going so I can actually flight sim and, you know, run prepared however I want to, and also make videos a lot faster. So this is what we got. We're gonna build it. I'd like to offer a disclaimer before we start the building process. One, it's been a long time. It's all new technology from when I built computers. 3, Zach's a first timer at building computers.
Yep, I got one for my birthday, but I didn't build it.
So let's get this motherboard and the processor together. Boom.
Yep.
We're gonna keep the manual to the side. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing with the processor at least, but I'm always gonna refer to this. I'm gonna take my time on this. Zach's gonna observe.
Yep.
And we're gonna get the processor on there. Obviously, this is a very expensive build, top of the line, but I am trying to teach Zach a little something about technology. So I'm gonna train him on the steps as we go. I've already trained him on how to open up where the processor goes on the motherboard. So Zach, please do that. Lift it up. Good. All right. The notches on the processor have to line up with the notches in here. Very carefully place it there. All right, we're gonna close it back down. I got this, buddy. And we're gonna lock it down, and the cap should pop right out as we do this, which it did. And the processor is securely in place. The next step is to install the system memory, which is the RAM. You wanna look in the manual for this because it tells you, based on how many DIMMs you have, where to install them. So we have 2 DIMMs, 2 8GB DIMMs. We're gonna put it in A2. and B2, and it's really easy to follow. Again, have the manual ready to go. It's also marked on the board, by the way. It says A1, A2, B1, B2, but check the manual. Zach, please open up the DIMM slots like I showed you. Push those right back. 1, 2. Again, this is A2 and B2. We want to make sure that it lines up on the right side. That is not the right side. So I'm going to flip that over, and we're only touching around the heat sink. We're not touching the connectors. I'm going to push it right in there. And you got to make sure it's aligned the right way, and we're going to put it into the DIMM slot. All locked in there, all set to go. That's installing the memory. Right, Zach?
Yep.
Was that fun?
Yep.
Okay. We have the motherboard to the side, securely, safely in the box while we get the case ready. The next step is to find out where we're going to mount the Corsair H115i Pro CPU cooler. I've never done one of these before. I come from the days where it came with a heat sink and a fan, and you just plugged in the fan and that kept it cold. So this is gonna be new for me. I'm gonna take my time on this. I think I'm gonna mount it to the top though. So we're gonna take off the tempered glass and we're gonna look inside there. It has the manual and everything. It'll show me my options. It came out with some pretty impressive fans already installed inside. So I'm gonna take a look at it and I'll let you know what I end up with. So I'm gonna have to go freehand here for the Cooler Master to show you what it's all about. It has a box with screws, some cables, stuff like that. It also comes with some cables coming out for the power switch and stuff. It's all labeled there, so that's going to be hooked up to the motherboard later on. Has a manual on it, probably how to install it. They have a really big fan here, but we're going to remove this because we're going to try mounting that CPU cooler up here, I think. It also comes with another fan right here. Pretty big from what I was used to back in the day. Again, heat dissipation, I guess, is a huge thing now. Has some power connectors for that fan. And it has the place where you mount the motherboard. You have places for SSD drives, 2.5 inch, so that looks good. From the front, we have a nice grill, and it has 2 fans installed already. On the front panel itself, it has 2 USB 3.0s, 2 USB 2.0s, I believe, the reset button, the headphone, microphone jack. It tells you if it's getting power, and it has an LED hard drive reader here. And here's the Corsair H115i Pro, the actual thing itself. Pretty big. It's got a big radiator, huge radiator, which is nice to see. You have the water pump itself with all its electrical connections. You do not want to take off this plastic piece until you're ready to put it on the processor. So we know that because it has thermal paste already applied to it, ready to go. So we're going to leave that alone. It's all sealed in the radiator. And then you have the 2 fans in these boxes. So let's look at one of them. They're pretty big, so that is nice to see. And then you have the bracket that installs on the motherboard with all the screws you need and the power connectors. So it's looking good. We're looking at the instructions for the CPU cooler, and we're going to mount the bracket, which looks like this, on the back of the motherboard. I'm going to pick this up, and it goes right underneath the motherboard. We're looking at the back of the motherboard, and there's little pre-drilled holes. I made sure that this actual motherboard worked with this cooler for spacing. It has little tabs for different ones. We push them all the way in for the LGA 1151, I believe it's called. I'm just going to put it right in the holes. This will be the back bracket where everything just gets tightened down to. Just trying to be really careful. You can see that the mount comes right through the other side on the motherboard. So again, your motherboard, you just want to double check and make sure that the cooler can actually fit on the motherboard that you have. The next step is to install the Intel standoff screws. We're using an 1151 socket, so we have to use these type of screws. They also include screws for an LGA 2011 and other things, but we're going to use these because that's the type of board we have. I'm going to screw them right onto the post that came through the motherboard. And the next step will be mounting it to the case, which is where it's going to take a little more time just to find out where I'm going to mount this. But I think I'm going to mount it just like it shows here. I'm going to mount it on the top. So what it looks like with the post installed, you got one here, one there, one over there, and one over there. So you're ready to tie down the cooler when you get it on there. But right now we have to mount the radiator to the case. All right, we're going a little freehanding here again. We did end up mounting the Corsair H115i Pro on the top there, and we have the fan so that the air goes right through the radiator, which is mounted on the top here. So there's 2 sides. There's one over there too. But just screws down with some screws. Really easy to install. Then you mount the fans themselves. They have screws in each corner. So, and that's how you put that in. Next step is to put in the power supply, which is gonna have to go down here. All right, as you can see, we installed the power supply. Just 4 screws on the back here that they provide with the case. We had to put in the mounting screws for the motherboard. And right here, they tell you the configuration. We have an ATX board. So they want you to put pegs in A, B, C, D, E, F, J, K, L. And to do that, you just screw them in, and they give you a little bit that goes over the hex over here and fits on there. So that way you can screw it right on there. And those are the screw holes where we're going to mount the motherboard, which is next. We got a little late last night, and Zach had to go to bed. I had to go to bed, but I did some cable cleanup here, right, Zach?
Yep.
So here's where we are with our build. I've got all the power cables I need coming out of the power supply. I tried to clean up any cables in front of this thing for now. I still have to install the GPU, which is the RTX 2080. We have the computer cooler ready to go. I know where all the attachment points go for the power. I powered all of these 2.5-inch drive places. And what we're doing right now is we're going to install the M.2 drives here and down here. And we also have one regular SATA drive, which I'm going to install here. Again, we didn't buy any new hard drives because we wanted to save some money for now, and that comes out of my old laptop. So we already took them out. So we got one mounted on the little plate here. It just connects on the back with 4 screws, and then you're going to screw it down, and then I have the M.2 drives right there. So we're going to try getting those in as soon as we can. One hard drive installed. Again, we have the power, the data cable, which is the SATA cable. Not used to that, used to laptops where it's all in one. That's cool, and it's locked down to the case right here. So we're gonna go for the M.2 drives in the middle of the case. We took off the M.2 heatsink, which just went right over here. You see that there's the M.2 drive. This is the one that you want your fastest one on, because it says that if you have SATA ones, which is what I do, I don't have the new PCIe ones, but if you do, it's going to disable port number 2 for your regular SATA, which we already took into account because we're only plugged in number 1 here, and that's all we need for now. So we're gonna put one here, then we're gonna take the heatsink off down here, same way, and we're gonna put one there. On newer ones, and I'm surprised this is still on there, this means that the previous owner didn't use this, you're gonna peel this off because that has some thermal paste or some type of thermal tape to get heat away from your M.2 drive. So that's really cool. So this one's gonna go right here. And we're just gonna pop it down. Gotta make sure it's seated all the way though. I'm gonna pop it down, and if you see this, there's a screw hole where the heatsink went, so that's going to hold it down, and that's what will hold it in. We install the M.2 drives underneath these heat sinks right here. We also went ahead and installed the Corsair CPU cooler. You just have these 4 screws that you screw in around there, and you put the frame on there, and it has the thermal paste underneath, so you take that plastic cover that we showed you earlier off before you put it on there. Got all the cables kind of where I want them. And the last step is the holy grail, for we have to install the RTX 2080 video card, which is right here. It's pretty big. 2 fans. And it's going to take up 2 expansion slots. So we're going to have to take 2 covers off the expansion slots here and here, and then we can fit it in there. We just got done putting the GeForce RTX 2080 in there. It took up 2 slots. And now we're gonna have to put the power in here. I already had the power connectors ready to go on the EVGA 1000 watt power supply. So we have 8 there, and notice that these 2 can move around to give you 6, because you need 6 here and 8 here for the connectors. So we're gonna put those in, and I think we're done after that. We're gonna do a double check, but Zach, I think we're done. How cool is that?
Yeah, me too.
All right, I think we got it done. The GeForce RTX is plugged in. You got everything else plugged in. I tried to move cables the best I could. I don't think it looks terrible, seeing that's the first time where I'm trying to make it look aesthetically pleasing. Usually in the old days, we just had a case. You didn't get to see inside of it. We have the old hard drive there, which I hope to upgrade with an SATA later on. We have the M.2 drives in there, which I also want to upgrade later on to a PCIe version instead of D, the memory's in there, the motherboard's in there. But yeah, we're gonna put the case together. We're gonna go fire this puppy up upstairs where it belongs. So we put the case back together. The computer is hopefully finished. We just have to test it, right, Zach?
Yep.
So we're gonna take our time. We're gonna bring it upstairs. We're gonna get to what we have already, and we'll come back to when it's working. Basically, when it's working, we'll show what it looks like. As always, if you like this video, found it useful, please subscribe. And if you have a product that you would like reviewed, please contact Eric by emailing him at eric5150diy@gmail.com. Have a great day.